I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today and welcome you to a new year. Today, I want to talk about how we can be advisors and how we can help our clients through this planning process and do it in a more efficient way and create a better opportunity for our clients to achieve their goals. One of the problems that I see that we have is our the world is becoming an e-commerce mentality. We expect, when we want something that we get instant gratification, that it's there, that it's taken care of, it's easy, it's fast. But the problem with the e-commerce mentality is it creates cookie cutter solutions. And if all you want to do is be seen as a product provider, then the e-commerce mentality is going to work for you. But if you want to set yourself apart in this industry, be an advisor. Be an advisor that helps our clients. Well, if we're going to be an advisor, we need to understand, what are our clients' goals? What are they trying to achieve? We have to start with our clients where they're at, but we have to understand, if we're going to help them build this roadmap to the future, we need to know where they want to go. And we have to understand their goals are going to change over time. Now they have young kids. Well, those goals are going to change as their kids mature and their kids, become parents. And so they have their grandchildren. All of these things are going to affect their goals. And so as we start this planning process, we need to make sure we understand their goals, that they're clear, and that the client understands what those goals are, and break those out into each individual category so we can help them achieve those goals. I like looking at the client's planning journey. If you think about what a client has to go through, as you know, we're in this industry, we talk about financial planning, we talk about life insurance, we talk about estate planning and legacy planning. We're aware of a lot of what's going on. But if you think about most of our clients, they're unaware. They're unaware of what's going on, and especially problem unaware. So as we start talking to our clients and start this journey with them, we have to help make our clients understand where they're at today, what those problems are, and once they become aware of the problems, then we can take them to the next step and start showing them there are solutions. For each of their problems, there is a solution that they need to be aware of. Once they have that, then we can start moving forward into the planning process. So think about that. If a client doesn't understand, let's just take something like long-term care. Are they even aware of how many people statistically are going to need long-term care? The answer is probably no. But once we make them aware of the problem, if we just stopped right there, what we've done is we've disturbed the client. They're not going to sleep at night wondering about this problem. But if you take them to the next step, and now we've introduced them to the problem of long-term care, now we start showing them the solutions to long-term care. Now, just because we gave them a solution doesn't mean it's the right solution for them. That's why we have to move into the planning process. And once we have that planning process moving along and our clients ready to make decisions, now we have to implement that plan. And if there isn't implementation, we have never solved the problem. So we've got to complete that client's journey through this planning process. At Camus, we've created, what we call the planning cycle. And we want our clients to understand from day one that this planning is a cycle. It really has a starting point of today, but the ending point is way, way, way out in the future, and we need to make sure they understand the process. So the very first part of this is to gather client information. Who is our client? Get to know the client, get to know what they have, where they're at, what they're doing, what their business is, what their family's like, what are their goals and objectives. As we start understanding these goals, that's going to help us dig a little bit more about our client. How can we plan for our client if we've never asked them the questions? I see a lot of pseudo planners out there that will ask them, give me your name, give me the names of your kids. They don't ask, okay, tell me about each one of the kids. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Are they good with money? Are you concerned about them? Do they have potential habits that are a concern to you? As we start digging into that client data, it goes from the normal, numbers, tax returns, financial statements, asset lists, to the emotional data gathering. Tell us more about each of the individuals. If we understand what they're trying to, what their concerns are, as we start moving through this process, we're going to help create a better roadmap. If we don't ask our clients what their goals are, how can we help them plan for the future? If they're worried about retirement and we're talking about, estate taxes, those two don't match up. We need to talk to them. If their concern is about retirement planning, let's talk to them and get through those. Once we've gone through that, we can start identifying potential tools. Now, I say identify potential tools because as we're gathering this data, we're going to need to start looking at, well, do they have a revocable living trust? Do they, potentially need an irrevocable life insurance trust? Do they need to restructure their business entities? Any of these are just potential tools to start putting on the table to start looking at, which will now lead us into formulating that plan. We've got the data, we've got the goals, we've got the potential tools. Now let's formulate that plan and let's present that plan to our clients. Let's make sure that they have the time to review that plan, revise that plan. We can start asking them, what do you like? What don't you like? And now we have the roadmap for the future. And the next step is making sure that we implement that plan. What good is a plan if we don't ever implement it? And I like comparing this to building a house. When we're building a house, we don't just start by going down to Home Depot and grabbing some 2x4s and some nails and a hammer and start building. No, we go to the architect. That architect looks at the lot we're building and building on. Is it a level lot? Is it a steep lot? What is it? What kind of home do you want? Do you want a 1,000 square foot house, or do you want a 5,000 square foot house? How nice do you want that house? All of that becomes the reality on a blueprint. But you can't live in a blueprint. You can't live in anything until that house is built. So the implementation of the plan is the key to making sure we can take that next step. Because without building this plan and implementing it, nothing's happened in our clients' lives that's going to change. Once we get it implemented, and I like taking a client through and identifying the steps of implementation so it doesn't become overwhelming. If we have step one, build your foundational estate plan, get your revocable trust and powers of attorney in place. Then maybe step two is we get your life insurance. We get a life insurance trust. We make sure that your life insurance is protected, that there's access with SLAP provisions. Any of these steps we identify. Once we get the implementation done, then it's review and revise. Let's make sure we're doing those annual meetings with our clients to make sure what we're doing is still the right thing for them, because as their life changes, we want to make sure this plan is updated to make sure all of it stays intact, but also that it stays in a place that's going to help them achieve their goals. As you go through that, and part of this is build more tools in your toolbox. If all we have in the toolbox is a hammer, the only thing we can look for are nails. So we want to make sure that we're looking for all of the strategies that we can understand, know how to use them, know how to, which tools complement one another. And if you look at the tool list, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but there's lots and lots of tools out there. Everything from life insurance to long-term care to estate planning documents, business contracts, on and on and on. All of these are just tools in our toolbox to help our clients achieve their goals. These are the things that we're going to bring to the plan, get them implemented to help our client achieve their goals. So I appreciate everybody getting on. If you have questions, reach out. If not, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.